Here we go. Earlier this week, we had an unfortunate tragedy happen. 9 people were killed in a helicopter crash, 2 of which was Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gigi. Kobe was an inspirational figure in the sports world, during and even post-NBA. Now, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. This one messed me up. I cried. I cried for hours, I cried for days. I can't explain it, but it truly affected me. It had me second guessing my worth on this planet. I mean, if Kobe can go, why not me? Even now, almost a week after the incident, I'm still having trouble speaking about it. Charles Barkley once told the kids and the fans of the sport, don't look at me as a role model. I'm not a role model. But you know what, Charles? You are a role model. You may not want to believe it, but you are. And for most, Kobe was one of the biggest role models for all kids with a dream that grew up during that era of basketball. His work ethic and his extreme obsession with perfecting his craft should all be emulated, y'all. So let's remember Kobe for all the great moments he gave us as fans and the example he set for the young kids who watched him closely through his journey. So Kobe, we miss you, we love you, and we thank you for everything that you've done for this game. A moment of silence for number 24, one of the greatest to ever do it.
It's killer raps, we got the hottest staff. In 03, I made a dynasty like Robert Kraft.
News before the game that you would not be going to the All-Star game, and yet you were a rebound and assist away from a triple-double. Just give me the range of emotions you've been dealing with today.
First praise my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I'm a little pissed off about it, but I know how I am. I was kind of expecting it, honestly. It's disrespectful, but the real ones know, so I'm gonna just keep competing. And I'm gonna try to get my team in the playoffs, for sure.
Now, I'm sure by now, all of you have heard or seen this interview. But if you pay attention to what Bradley Beal said, he said something that probably went over your head. As soon as the interview started and the question was asked, he said, I expected it. That's a key part of this interview to me. If you expected to be snubbed, so to speak, then that means you understand how this system works. See, times have changed in this NBA. Of course, we all know. The points that was being scored, just a decade ago, are completely different from what it's like in today's game. Scoring 20 points used to be an accomplishment. Now it seems like the new meta is 30. Beal and also Phoenix guard Devin Booker have been the talk of the town lately because most believe that they were both snubbed out of the All-Star game, which could be a fair assessment based off face value. What does the eye test tell you, right? That's what we all looking at. Every year we break out a list of players who got snubbed from the All-Star game, but rarely do we ever talk about why. Maybe because it's unexplainable, or maybe because you don't understand how this works. Both Bradley Beal and Devin Booker are having tremendous statistical seasons up to this point. Hell, I love them both, especially Bradley Beal, that's my dog, and I enjoy watching both of them play. I'm sure all of us do. But if we're gonna wonder whether they got snubbed or not, we have to factor in every aspect of the situation. Now, Beal is averaging 28, 6, and 4 while shooting 45% from the field. That's incredible. But on the other hand, Booker is averaging 27, 6, and 4 while shooting 51% from the field as a guard. That is unheard of for a guy of his skill set. So if these are the numbers, what the hell is keeping them out of the All-Star game? Over the history of the NBA, no one has ever averaged 27 points or more and missed this prestigious honor. So why them? Who the hell is keeping them out? What the hell is keeping them out? Both these players are in different situations, so let's look at who got in over them and who could possibly be substituted, right? Let's take a look. What? Maybe CP3 or even Brandon Ingram? I don't know. Some will say Gobert, but you definitely can't neglect centers though. That's about it for the West. Now let's look at the East for Bradley Beal. Numbers wise, none of these players have better numbers than Beal, but making the All-Star team is bigger than that, y'all. Soon, I'll explain why. But the biggest complaint I've heard is Kyle Lowry, my guy. Kyle Lowry. This explanation will come with what I have to say about this situation. But bottom line, there are a few you could swap out for either one of these guys if we just looking at the numbers, y'all. I know I might sound like I'm all over the place, but it will make sense in a minute. Trust me, y'all. See, the All-Star game is a way to put the best players in the league in one place at one time, right? As Kobe used to say. It's the greatest pickup game in the world. For the most part, I would say this game is sort of a popularity contest, but again, there are facts that can prove that otherwise. Like, why such a boring player like Kyle Lowry made the All-Star team, right? But an exciting player who's capable of dropping 60 on any given night didn't. I think there's a huge misconception with this that reminds me of a similar situation. The MVP award. People seem to think that the player with the best stats should win the award, and that's just not how things work, y'all. This also applies here. Listen to me, hear me out, y'all. The All-Star starters are selected by the fans for the most part. 50% of the vote goes to the fans, 25% goes to the media, and the other 25% goes to the players. So everybody has a bit of a say when it comes to the ballot. But the players and the media only get one vote. Meanwhile, the fans can vote every single day for about a month's duration. The reserves are voted in by the coaches, so basically everyone gets to decide who becomes an all-star, y'all. Now let's look at some facts, because history seems to repeat itself. As I mentioned earlier, over the past 20 years or so, the success rate of someone making an all-star team who averaged at least 20 points per game, meeting the standards, was about 86%, but the league has changed since then, and 20 points is the new 25, like I stated earlier. It's become the standard of the league instead of an accomplishment now. But there is a criteria when it comes to being an all-star in this league. Usually 3 things go hand in hand. Believe it or not, whether you earned your stripes in this league means a lot, y'all. A perennial all-star can be voted in even if someone else much younger is having a better season than them. That's where the popularity contest accusations come into play. The other 2 must-haves are team success and health. So we got 3 things: earning your stripes, team success, and health. The reason why that 20 points per game success rate I mentioned earlier isn't 100% of the time is because the other 14% of the people were either hurt or in a bad situation. Missing just one of these credentials can cost you an all-star appearance. Listen to what I'm telling y'all. Beal and Booker both have made all-star teams before, so not paying their dues doesn't apply to them. But what about the other 2? Both haven't missed many games, and they both been pretty healthy up to this point, so that's not a factor either. So what about the last option? Team success. Bottom line is, almost every award given in the NBA is contingent on team success. This is the most important element. The only true argument is Brandon Ingram, I would say, who has the worst team record as an all-star. His team has 20 wins, just like Booker's does. Beal's team has 16 wins, which is the lowest of them all. Remember who votes on these reserves. The coaches do. Most coaches have been on record stating that they value winning over most of the qualifications when it comes to this voting process. I mentioned Kyle Lowry earlier as the person everybody's picking on to be sub for Beal, right? Keep in mind that Toronto was a team that won a championship last season. Their best player leaves, and let's be honest, they're currently sitting as the 2nd seed in the East, and nobody saw him there. Lowry is averaging 20 points per game and 7 assists as a 33-year-old guard. He's the 2nd option on one of the most winningest teams in the NBA. But what about the other side? What about the Western Conference? I hear some people saying that CP3 shouldn't have made it. Would I rather see Booker play over CP3, old ass? Of course I would, and I love Chris Paul. But the fact is, OKC is supposed to be in rebuild mode, man. Chris Paul got them boys ballin'. They currently sitting at the 7th seed in the Western Conference. Not acknowledging his play at this age, when most thought he was done, including myself, would be disrespectful, y'all. So the bottom line is this. There's a criteria to pass before you can become an all-star. Team success, being healthy, and paying your dues. But most importantly, winning. So if you want to be an all-star, Beal, and if you want to be an all-star, Booker, take that team you got to the playoffs. Stop putting up empty stats on unsuccessful teams. So I'm going to take you back to that interview with Bradley Beal saying, quote unquote, I expected it when it comes to being snubbed. Let's just put it like this. It's not a coincidence that at the end of the video he stated, I'm going to try to get this team to the playoffs. He knows, y'all. He knows. So in essence, when it comes to winning awards in the NBA, whether it's Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, MVP, anything, it does not matter. Team success is everything. So if you want to know why a certain player didn't win an award, take a look at that win-loss column. That should tell you everything you want to know. This video getting a little bit too long. I'm going to get on up out of here. OG out.